What's up, guys? My name is Oscar, and in this video, we are going to be breaking down one of my recent boudoir films. Shortly after posting the film that we're going to be breaking down in this video, I got a ton of messages and comments asking me to please make a breakdown video talking about my thought process and the lighting and the overall final product so that some of you can understand what goes on in my mind and how I make some of these things come to be, and how to replicate some of the results that you're going to see in this video. So without further ado, I think the first thing that we need to do is watch the video from start to finish, and then I'll go ahead and start breaking down the gear that I used, my thought process behind the storytelling, the shots that I chose, and also the color grading. So let's go ahead and watch the video now.
Brought you down, it's true. I had some dreams and said some things to you. If I said too much, I know you're mine to lose. I had some dreams and said some things to you. Give a fuck, actually I do. If I said too much, I know you're mine to lose. Don't give a fuck, actually I do.
All right, so that is the video. As you can see, we got really creative with the overall concept, the storytelling, the lighting, the props, the poses. We shot in the daytime first, and then when it got dark, we pulled out the LED tubes, which I'll be talking about as well. So there's a lot going on in this video. There's a lot to unpack, and I think the best way to approach it is by first addressing the simple things to answer, which is what gear I used to film this video. And the camera that I used is the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. It's actually the same camera that I'm filming myself on right now in this video. And the lens that I used is the Panasonic 12 to 35 2.8. It's also the same lens that I'm using right now to film myself in this video. And that's it. I don't like a heavy setup. I like light, portable, easy to zoom in and zoom out so that I can get my wides and my close-ups. I didn't use any gimbals. Everything was handheld. The only other thing that I used while I was filming is an external monitor. It's this massive 7-inch screen that goes on top of my actual camera, and it has a couple of benefits. Number one, it's bigger, so it's easier to see what I'm doing. Number two, it makes it easier to make sure that my shots are always in focus. And number three, it has a feature called false colors. And I use false colors a lot. It's the easiest way that I've ever found to nail your exposure every single time. So I haven't had an overexposed or underexposed shot in years when I'm filming because I always use false colors. The easiest way to understand false colors is basically when you turn on the feature, your image turns super colorful. It has blues, reds, yellows. It just looks like a coloring book. And basically what's happening is each one of those colors represents a different brightness value within your image. But for the most part, if you turn on false colors and you see yellow and red in your image, those parts of your image are overexposed. You can think about like looking at the sun. You would think that, it's a fireball, so it's yellow and red and really, really hot. So if you see yellow and red in your image when you turn on false colors, then that part of the image is blown out, super overexposed. And if you don't want that part to be overexposed, then you got to drop your exposure to get that part of the image out of the yellow and red. On the flip side, again, depending on the camera and the monitor, you might see a lot of your image in the blue or dark gray tone, which means that your image is underexposed. And right in the middle, where you want your skin tones to be, will usually be a pink, a green, or a light gray color on your screen. That's false colors. I honestly think it's a superpower and I never ever film without it. So for everyone who is asking, like, how do you always get your colors so great? How do your images like always look awesome in your videos? It's because I never over or underexpose. Everything looks perfect because I'm always using false colors. So with that, let's go ahead and dive in here. I'm going to go shot by shot and basically explain my thought process as to why I filmed what I filmed and how I filmed it. So let's look at the first scene here.
I've been around, brought you down, it's true. I had some dreams.
So the first thing that I think about when I'm going to film is I got to make stuff make sense. That's the essence of good storytelling. I love capturing people walking into the scene. I love to get my models or clients interacting with the scene in a way that visually and in a storytelling sense makes sense as to how they got there. So here we have this really cool living room. She's obviously going to end up, taking her clothes off and in lingerie because it's a boudoir film. But how do we get her in that living room? First thing I thought was, hey, step outside and let's get a scene of you walking in. And when you're building a really cool scene, you can't just leave it as, okay, walk in, done. Then cut to the next scene where she already has her clothes off. You got to build on your scene in order to really immerse your viewer and really draw them in. So here she's walking in and I don't immediately cut to her in lingerie the second shot after this video starts. I continue to think okay, she opened the door and I got this wide shot. Let me get her to open the door again and get a close-up shot. Almost like if I had a whole camera crew there, but it was only me. So let's watch that again.
I've been around, brought you down, it's true.
Right there, obviously she is walking in. So we have the wide and the close-up of her opening the door. Next, I get a close-up of her starting to walk across the sofa. Now, as you build your storytelling brain and your muscle memory of okay, what's something I can add here? What's something that will really elevate this sequence and this scene to make it even more immersive and even more powerful? I could have had Jessie, the model who is in this video, I could have just had her walk straight across, and not do anything to the sofa. And as a matter of fact, I probably did have her do that and just walk normally where I couldn't see her hand. And that's not a bad shot, but how do we make it better? Especially in a film that we're trying to make super sexy and sensual. So when she started walking across, I thought, instead of just walking, why don't you kind of put your fingers on the sofa and then let them drag behind you real slow. And that is how this shot happened. And of course, since I got the close-up, I had to get the wide. You always got to get your wide, your medium, and your close-ups, and that will allow you a lot of flexibility in your edit to just bounce around between all three shot variations. All right, so this money situation here, I think it's important to explain that I do a lot of thinking before a photo shoot. First thing that comes to mind is where are we filming and what's in it? What kind of vibe is in this environment? And then from there, everything just starts falling into place. As you can see in this location, it's very masculine. It's very gritty and dark and there's motorcycles. So in my mind, I was if we're going to put a girl in here, it has to be a biker chick, like a someone where it makes sense that this is like her home, or like this is her like chill area that she belongs in. I don't think that if Jessie would have walked into this scene in a bubblegum pink dress with star sunglasses and like a white hat, like it doesn't fit, right? So within the context of where I'm filming, I'm always thinking, okay, what will match this scene the best? What kind of vibe are we going for? What's the outfits that would look best here? So we did tell Jessie to bring a leather jacket, ripped denim jeans, and she absolutely killed it with her wardrobe choices. So with that said, when I had her coming into the scene and going around the sofa, I knew that I wanted to get her to like interact in the living room area. And I immediately thought, I'm going to have her sit down, but what could she be doing? And then I thought maybe she could be like just lounging and drinking a beer, like she's having some sort of dilemma, or like she's thinking about something that's kind of like upsetting her, and she's getting home and like saying, fuck this money. Like, I don't know. Something just spoke to me and said that this was kind of the vibe, right? Like, to me, it didn't feel right to have Jessie going in there with a big old smile and like super excited and jolly. It just felt like the character that needed to be portrayed in this scene and in this environment is a lot more serious. And to me, that like drew out the need to create an intro where the main character might be battling something internally, right? So she's getting here, and we had prop money. I didn't know how we were going to use that prop money at first, but then I thought, hey, she has this badass living room with motorcycles. Homegirl is rich, okay? She walks around with a stack of cash in her back pocket, and it's so much cash that sitting down with that money in her butt pocket is uncomfortable. So she got to take it out, right? She don't want to get no spine injury from all that money back there. So I said, okay, Jessie, let's go ahead and cut around the corner. And the moment that your back is to the camera, you're pulling that money out. And when you sit down, you're slamming it. I think she nailed it. Let's watch it again.
I had some dreams and said some things to you.
All right, so this money falling right here, it took about 4 tries, and ultimately it was really hard to get her to do it like within the scene, like taking it out of her pocket and then like immediately dropping it down all in one go. So basically I did it in 2 shots. The first shot was her sitting down and then just dropping the money. But when she did this, the money didn't really fall in like a really cool way. It either just like landed in one place and didn't spread out, or she kind of like got it too far out of scene to where it really wasn't selling the effect that I wanted. So what I did is I perfected her sitting down and just like throwing the money. And then I did another scene where I took the camera high up, and we did about 2 or 3 times of her just like tossing the money like out. I don't know if that makes sense. Like not down, because then the money just kind of plops and stays in place. But I had her kind of like push it to where it fans out, and we can see this effect here. Let's watch it one more time.
Said some things to you.
So next, we have her drinking beer, again, all within the context of where is she, what's going to make the most sense, and beer just kind of felt like it would really fit the vibe, so we brought out a cold beer and had her take some sips.
If I said too much, I know you're mine to lose.
All right, so this place that we were shooting at had these Playboy magazines already out. And so I thought, okay, well, if this is Jessie's character's home and she has a bunch of Playboy magazines, Jessie is gay, okay? I didn't make up the rules, but if this is where homegirl lives and she has a bunch of like women naked magazines, it's because she likes looking at them, right? And so I thought, okay, Jessie's mad. She threw down her money. She's drinking her beer. She's trying to like blow off some steam. Jessie's going to look at some naked women to make her feel better. So that's the next scene. I said, take a sip of beer, grab the Playboy magazine, and we're going to shoot some shots that make it evident that you are enjoying what you're looking at, okay? So let's watch this scene.
Said too much, I know you're mine to lose. I had some dreams.
So right here in this shot where she's grabbing the magazine, I could have just had the camera, up high, pointed down, and not moved. However, I like to add a lot of motion and intrigue to shots when it's possible. So what I did is, say the magazine was right here, and when Jesse pulls to grab it, what I did, well, let me see if I don't mess up this microphone. I had the camera like this, and then I told Jesse on the count of 3, go ahead and take the magazine. So what this shot basically looked like was me holding the camera like this, saying 1, 2, 3. And as Jesse was grabbing it, I'm rotating the camera as I'm pulling it upwards. So you can kind of imagine it going like, like this, kind of like that, which is how we're getting this effect where I'm going up and then it's kind of like spinning at the same time. Let's watch that again. Right here, I love this shot. You can see the lens flare coming from the upper right-hand corner. That is not a fake effect. That was the sun coming straight in from the glass behind Jesse. And I was very conscious of that. And when she grabbed the magazine, I kind of tilted the camera up to allow for that light leak to happen. So I love doing that kind of stuff. If I see direct sunlight coming into a scene, I'm always trying to like point my lens right at it if I want that really cool effect of like the lens flare and the lens leak coming in. So let's watch that one more time.
I know you're mine to lose.
I also love when I cut and you hear that is also the brightest part of this shot, and I kind of feel like it's a really fun and unintended transition because when the snap happens, it also switches shots at the same time that it got super bright. So it kind of looks like the sun was intending to create that transition before it, turned into the next shot. So we'll see this again. So Jessie, she ended up not really liking the shot of her biting her lip. I personally love it. I just think it sells that whole like, I'm having a great time, good job Playboy, never unsubscribing. So there is a different video that we posted where that shot isn't in the video, but I decided to use this one because it's the director's cut. It's my preference. Jessie, I'm sorry. This is awesome. So continuing here, Jessie's character is enjoying her magazines.
I had some dreams, said some things to you.
Right there, again, as I had just mentioned, light leaks and allowing the sun to come directly into my lens. Obviously, if I stay in the same place, like for instance, right here, what's on the screen, if I just leave my camera in this one position, you can't see anything. You don't know what's going on. You can barely see that there's a fireplace and everything's just super washed out. So what I like to do is find this, what you see on the screen right now, where there's just a bunch of light coming into the lens and it's super, super bright. And then I shift the lens to the right or the left or up and down, however I need to in order to start showing and revealing the actual scene. So we'll see that now.
Said some things to you.
So as you can see in this example, I started off with the lens like completely soaking in the sun directly so you can't see anything. And then I pushed forward and to the right as I started to tilt. And then you were able to see Jessie at the end.
Some things to you.
All right, so this effect I love doing. I'm constantly thinking of like, okay, what can I get to cover my lens so that it goes completely dark? Because it's one of the easiest transitions that you don't really have to plan too much for. Literally, all you have to do is cover the lens, make it go black with whatever, and then you can do something in another shot where the lens is covered and then you're revealing whatever's going on in that scene. So when I was taking the shot of Jessie with the magazine, I didn't even know what was going to come next. I didn't know what I was going to transition this with, but I just said, hey, close the magazine, push it up to the lens, and then we'll figure this out later. So that's what we did. And rules are meant to be broken. I literally just said that when you get a shot like this where you're covering the lens, you want the next shot to be where you're covering the lens and then uncovering it to kind of like sell the transition very well. But I didn't do that in this case because I must have forgot to get another shot like that. So when the beat drops, I just put another shot. And in this sequence, we're getting to the part where the sun has already gone down, and we pulled out the tube lights to get this really cool blue and pink effect. The lights that we used in this video were provided to us by our sponsor, Geekoto. They gave us a bunch of their incredible lights. For those of you who don't know, my fiance Anna and I also own a company called PhotoLoft, where we design and rent out photography studios to our local creatives here in Dallas, Texas. Geekoto basically supplies us with any lights that we request in order to provide top quality tools for our creatives to utilize here when they rent our studios. As a matter of fact, the lights that are above me, behind me, and in front of me were provided to us by Geekoto. I know that this is regarding Boudoir and our course, Boudoir Film School, but since we also own PhotoLoft, if you guys want a discount on your first purchase with Geekoto, you can use code PHOTOLOFT10 and get 10% off of your first ever purchase with these guys. They have incredible lights. I can't recommend them enough. And with that said, the lights that are used in this video with Jesse are the LS100s, and we also had 4 LS80s, and we had 2 LS20s. The LS20 is controlled via Bluetooth, and once it's controlled to your phone, it also is able to control and manipulate the LS80s and the LS100. So that made it super easy to pick the colors and make them brighter, darker, all without having to go to the back of these tubes and having to do it manually. And so what we did with the tubes, you can kind of see it right here in this shot. The tubes come with little legs that can either lift the tubes up by about 3 inches, or they can actually go straight flat on the ground to get them as low as possible to the ground. And we essentially just put 2 on either side of Jesse with corresponding colors. So the ones on this side pointing towards the camera currently are pink, and then the ones on the other side are blue. And you can see the arrangement here. We just pointed them towards Jesse's direction to get that glow on her. So now we can go ahead and start analyzing this sequence here shot by shot. So this shot, Anna was on the other side in front of Jesse, like in the direction where her head is pointing. And she was getting a photo of Jesse like in that direction. And Anna was instructing Jesse to basically like crawl and lower herself towards her camera so that she could take that photo. In that same moment, I was getting video from this angle, and then obviously if I'm getting it from this angle, I can go ahead and get in the same position where Anna was and get that angle as well. So you can see that happening here. All of these shots where you see a zoom in effect, most of them I was not pushing forward in the moment. I was holding still, making sure that my shot was solid and making sure that I was in focus. And the zoom in was actually faked in editing. I just keyframed. If you have Boudoir Film School, you will know how to do that. And just kind of punched in very slowly to kind of sell the effect that I was zooming in when I really wasn't. Here we have a classic pull your bra strap down moment. And in those 2 shots, we were just asking Jessie to move her hands up and down her body. Nothing too fancy, but it always works well. This shot was really fun. The space has stairs, and so we thought, you know, we got all this money. If Jessie lays down and I got my camera really high pointed down at her, Obviously, it's a cool shot to begin with, but how do we make it better? Always got to think, what is more creative? What takes this up a step? And so I had this idea to have Anna right next to me and toss the money as I was filming in slow motion. So you can see that shot here. All right, so this scene I was very, very happy with. We had just gotten these Gikoto tubes from them, and I wanted to get as creative as possible just to make sure that I knew how to use them so that I could teach people who rented our studios how to use them as well. And overall, just get really well acquainted with the possibilities of these tools. And immediately when it went dark, I thought, you know what? We have to do something cool with the stairs. And my very first thought was, we're going to stand these tubes up and space them out equally. This ended up working very well. I knew that I wanted to do this because of the really cool LED rope that is attached to the bottom of the stairs here. I knew that this all would tie in very well and just create super awesome looking lighting. Back here behind Jesse, what I did is I grabbed one of Gikoto's lights, their constant LED lights, and I put what's called a gobo on it. And a gobo is basically a tool that you use, and you get these little filters to create different lighting patterns with the light. So in this case, I put the straight lines. This is kind of meant to emulate like window blinds. The light was up at the very top, pointing down, and that's why you get the light very bright here, and then it starts to kind of fade off into the distance. The reason I did that is because although these tubes and the neon rope on the stairs look incredible, I felt like something was missing behind Jessie, and I wanted to add a little bit more texture behind her so that it wasn't just a blank, massive wall. There's obviously no artwork back here, so I decided to spice it up a little bit with this gobo. Here I'm just getting close-ups, having Jessie move around, and overall just getting like really dark and moody shots as she's doing different movements on the stairs.
I think too much, out of touch, it's true.
So that shot is another example where obviously when I see the stairs, I'm like, what can she do on the stairs? She can sit on them. She can lay on them. Oh yeah, there's stairs. She can go up the stairs, right? So this is a great opportunity to shoot a nice booty shot going up. Anna got her photos first, and then I asked Jessie to go up the stairs. The first time I had her do it, she was just going up the stairs. And that's fine. There was nothing wrong with it. But then I put my little creative hat on and said, what else could she do? What's going to take this to the next level? And then I thought, maybe she could be leading someone up the stairs, right? I'm behind her, so I got the perspective of someone following her. Maybe she can interact with the camera as though the camera is someone she's leading up the stairs. So naturally, I thought, hey, if this is a sexy moment between Jessie and someone that's following her up the stairs, maybe she can be like, telling that person, come on, let's go. Follow the leader, follow the booty, come on. So that's exactly what I asked her to do. And I think that it just made this shot even better. Let's watch it again.
Touch, it's true. Give a fuck, actually, I do.
Right there, classic example, wide, close up. I had Jessie do this about 3 times. She was literally just sliding her back up and down the wall so I could get different angles that we could cut to.
If I said too much, I know you're mine to lose.
And right here, this is a great example of cutting 2 different scenes together that are in different locations, but if she's doing the same thing, it's almost like it tricks your eye into thinking it's like continued movement. So here, she's clearly going up her body, and the lighting is red. She's on the stairs. But then I found this other shot where she did the exact same thing in the other lighting setup, and I cut to that part, and it almost looks like the seamless transition where the movement is continued.
Don't give a fuck, actually, I do.
So this was really cool. We knew that this studio had a very like dark and moody feel that we wanted to cater to, but we didn't want to smoke in this person's house. Number one, because that's super disrespectful. Number two, someone has done that in one of our studios without asking, and that is absolutely against the rules. And number three, the person who lives here is our landlord for our studio, which is right next door to him. Obviously, we can't smoke in his house or we're getting evicted. So what we did is we bought these fake cigars, and this was back in the day when I was still vaping. No longer doing that, but I was back then, and it worked to our benefit because I gave Jessie my vape, and she was able to kind of fake that she was smoking this cigar, and it just looks super, super cool. And there you have it, guys. That's the whole video. I really love the way this turned out. I'm really proud of this video as well. This is one of the most recent videos where I filmed and edited the entire thing. I'm actually the one who taught Anna everything that she knows. I taught her how to film and I taught her how to edit. And once I got her to be super good at editing, that became her entire job while I worked on other stuff. So a lot of the video edits that we post on Boudoir Film School are Anna's amazing editing skills. So it kind of felt great for me to bounce back in here and play around with my editing skills to make sure I didn't lose them. And although I was kind of rusty, I still got it in me and put together a super dope edit that I'm really happy with. And I was really happy with the feedback that I got and that so many people were interested in me talking about what all went into this video and wanting to kind of see behind the scenes and my thought process behind it all. Now, in terms of color grading, I don't do a lot of complicated editing with the colors. I chose the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K because it is a cinema camera and the colors that come straight out of it are beautiful. Like, you barely have to do anything. If you nail your exposure, it's already giving you such a great foundation. So as you can see here, really what I'm doing is just fixing the exposure. So here you can see that it was a little dark and I ended up brightening it up. Here in the midtones, they were a little bit dark, brightening it up. Here in the highlights, I actually didn't do anything at all. And then in the overall exposure, it was a little bit too bright and I brought it down. To me, color grading and getting a look that you're happy with is less about, hey, what are your perfect settings in your editor? How much should I move the slider every single time to get the perfect look? To me, it's not about that. After years of editing videos, what I've come to realize is that no one shot is the same. No lighting scenario is the same. So all it is tweaking each individual scene and giving it what it needs. Each shot has its own individual special treatment that it needs in order to get it to look the way that you want it to. So this one was a little dark, I brightened it up. Okay, and on this shot, you can see that I kind of reduced the shadows, I reduced the midtones by a tiny bit, and then I also increased the highlights by a little bit. If I undo all of those things, you can see that it was really, really bright. And then I brought it down to give it a more punchy and contrasty look. The LUT or preset, video preset that I'm using is a LUT by a guy named David Lee. David Lee, if you're watching this, shout outs to you. I forgot how long ago it was that I bought your LUTs, but I still frequently use them. David Lee is an incredible filmmaker here in the Dallas area. I stumbled upon him back when I was making weddings. He had presets that he made, and I immediately jumped on them, and I've been using them a lot ever since. The LUT that I chose from David Lee is called Positiano. I don't even know how to say it. Positiano. I think all of these names are from places in Europe that he's probably traveled to for awesome weddings, because he gets booked to go and film awesome weddings all over the world. But yeah, that's basically it. I've never claimed to be an incredibly gifted and talented color grader or color specialist. I just do minor tweaks. If something's too bright, I make it darker. If something's too dark, I make it brighter. And after the years, I've just gotten really good at training my eye to know what I like. I don't like when something's too bright. I don't like when something's too dark. If any part of my image looks too bright, I know how to bring it down and kind of like find that perfect middle ground, that perfect balance. And honestly, that's something that can't be taught with one lesson or one video breakdown. It's all about filming, getting out there, doing stuff yourself, messing things up, and then learning how to fix them. And that's really the only thing that I can say about color grading. But in all honesty, the camera does a lot of the work for me, especially because I'm so diligent in making sure that I'm not overexposing and that I'm not underexposing. As long as I got really great exposure and my composition was great and my storytelling was great, I can come into the editor, make some minor exposure tweaks, throw on the LUT that I think is going to fit the vibe the best, make a couple more tweaks after that. Sometimes LUTs change your whole exposure. Maybe the LUT makes your scene darker than it was before, so you got to raise the levels a little bit back up to kind of find that perfect balance. Let me know if you guys want a more thorough, in-depth, step-by-step walkthrough of color grading. And if that's something that you want to see, I'll put something together showing you exactly how I go about color grading a video. That is it for this walkthrough. Thank you so much for watching. If you are in the Boudoir Film School course, you already know you're going to get access to all of these files so that you can play with my footage yourself. You're also going to get the Davinci Resolve project so that you can open it up in Davinci and literally see what I did, what I clicked on, what effects I used, and you can get an even better understanding of how this thing was put together. If you're not in Boudoir Film School, what are you doing? Go get the course. You're going to get access to walkthroughs like this. You get to ask me questions in our group, and you get to start making badass boudoir films in no time. That's it for this video, guys. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.